the SEC and Big Ten are meeting, and it seems to be the intention of the SEC. And I know Greg Sankey wants to do this because we talked to him about it at SEC Media Days. He wants this 9-game conference schedule to happen. How significant would it be? I think it'd be very significant. I think you would replace one of the Kent states with I don't know, Mississippi State, whatever, but that's still better than a Kent State. I think it'd be huge for the viewership and the ratings of the conference.
I do. And I wrote a column on this, and I encourage you guys to read it. They should negotiate right now with ABC and ESPN. And here's what I mean by this, Dave. They should not go to a 9-game schedule until they get concessions from ESPN and ABC and a willingness for them to renegotiate this deal.
I don't have a problem with that.
And yeah, because let's be fair. Who does a 9-game conference schedule help, Dave? It helps the networks, right? It doesn't help the SEC.
No, it actually hurts individual coaches.
Yeah. So let's break down exactly what's happening here. First of all, if you go to a 9-game conference schedule, you play 8 fewer games in a year. In a conference schedule where if every SEC team plays 12 games and 8 are conference games, there's a total of 128 games involving an SEC team that ESPN has to carry in a year. 128. If you play 9 conference games and 3 non-conference games, because there's more games against each other, that actually brings the total number of games involving an SEC team to 120. Now, what's going to happen, Dave? You reduce the number of games. What type of games are we reducing here? You're not reducing marquee games. You're reducing, like you just said, Tennessee, Kent State, right? You're getting rid of that.
Yes, which is a total waste of time for everybody involved, us included.
Yes, so you're reducing Tennessee, Kent State, and you might get a Georgia, Florida. No, well, not Georgia, Florida. They play every year. Georgia played everybody. You might get a Georgia, LSU in response to that. Everybody's taking that deal. ESPN wants to offload those bad games because you know this, Dave. Those games that they're carrying, those really bad ones, Tennessee, Kent State, they hate having to carry those. They probably lose money carrying that game, having to sell it to their sponsors. They probably just try to break even.
You know, probably, and you mentioned Georgia, LSU. That was just random, but whatever it is, Georgia, Texas A&M. I mean, I'm old enough to remember the days that Florida and LSU didn't seem like a rivalry, but kind of does now. Does that make sense? I mean, it's not a rivalry, but it feels like because they play at the right time and I don't know. It feels like more of a rivalry than it is. And I remember when they didn't even play.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And it really peaked in the mid 2000s. Funny enough, when you had the Urban Meyer, Les Miles years. I totally agree. So where I'm going with this is the SEC, you're reducing your number of games. Your direct attendance revenue is going to go down because you're reducing the number of games. That's just a fact. The TV revenue will go up because ESPN can carry more marquee games and not have to carry the Kent State games. So all you're doing is making ESPN and ABC more money. On top of that, you're further endangering your revenue because the SEC just had 3 teams get into the college football playoff and the Big Ten had 4 while the SEC was at an 8-game schedule. What if they go to a 9-game schedule and that damages more teams' college football playoff hopes? Beyond that, you're also damaging the bowl eligibility hopes of some teams because let's be honest, Dave, it's harder to get to 6 wins if there's a 9-game conference schedule. And so you'll have fewer bowl teams, fewer bowl payouts, fewer CFP payouts, fewer games for attendance payouts, but more money overall that's all going to go directly to the network. So the SEC should not do this until they should demand that ESPN and ABC like borderline double what they're paying them right now if they're going to do it.
No, I get that. Super chat from Timothy says, have a preseason. I don't know that would be sellable. And I don't know that you would want to play your players in a preseason games that had no meaning.
It's not. I mean, guys, look at NFL preseason. They play their starters for one half of one game in a 4-game preseason. That's all they do.
Yeah. General Ursus, I thought, had a great point. Sign me up to 9 conference games plus the 3 SEC versus Big Ten matchups. They are turning this into the NFL, so start playing like the NFL. Amen, brother. Do you completely agree with that or kind of agree with that?
I like the SEC versus Big Ten matchups, but I don't agree with making the college football like the NFL, and I never have, and I never will. It's a different product.
But it's there. You have to realize it's there.
It's there, and here's what I hate about it. I'm just going to tell you the biggest thing I hate about it. the novelty of when the SEC plays the Big Ten is about to go out the window. It's going to be more like looking like when the AFC plays the NFC. When you play a team from it's going to look like that.
No,
that's
so
not
what?
as entertaining.
No,
like they're not
the AL, NL, the Yankees versus Mets.
Interleague ruined baseball.
Okay, but it played for 10 years. They're not thinking about 50 years from now, Caleb. They're thinking about their next paycheck in the next decade.
And that's my problem. Can somebody say what? Can somebody who runs college football?
Who runs college football? Though?
Nobody. That's the some You're right. But can some of these people running college football say, you know what? Yeah, we make a good bit of money. Yeah, we can increase our profits here for us personally. But we have a good product and we want this product to last a long time and we don't want to damage it. And we have more of a legacy to leave if we keep this thing in good shape way after we're here.
I'm sorry. You're the younger guy, but I think you're completely old fashioned. And Derek, and from his picture, I don't know Derek personally, but Derek looks younger. He says, pay to play, get it done. Bingo. It's just over, man. NIL doesn't need to ever be a term used again. It's an antiquated term like Prop 48. You don't need it. Just pay them. Just pay the dudes.
Sometimes when you're a business, Dave, you run a business. Sometimes every now and then, maybe you should say, this is what my business does. And this is the product I sell. Now, maybe I can make a little bit more money if I did this over here or this is over here. But that's not what I do. I do this. College football needs to stop and say one day, you know what? We have a good product. It's not the NFL product. There are differences, and that's okay. Okay? The NFL could never put a team in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. They would never sell.
You know what's weird is actually Birmingham. They did really well there. The AF, what was it called? The American Athletic.
The AAFL.
Yeah, AF is what I called it.
I did not know that. And
they actually did okay in Birmingham. AF. I actually talked a reporter into covering the AF and referred to it, the AF championship game, and referred to it in the press box as the AF, not the AFL.
You would do that. You would do that.
All right. What does General Ursus have to say?
See, I think NIL actually kind of enhanced the sport, but the playoff, I agree, has ruined the sport. I think the playoff has ruined the sport. Expanded conferences, the death of the Pac-12. I'm sorry, these mega conferences ruined the sport. If I were the king of college football, Dave, I would go back to 10-team conferences. 10 teams. That's it.
I don't hate that, but I don't think it's realistic. How about tomorrow we do this? What's the bigger problem with college football? NIL or playoffs?
Oh, okay. That's a good one because I got mine, and I think it's very clearly the playoff. But
all right, I feel challenged already.